Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I know it's been a while. I got really into role-playing games for a while there, and I was writing a Monster of the Week campaign for my roommates and had no time for anything else, not even writing my novel. But here I am, I'm back. Since it's been so long, I thought I'd try and give you quick popcorn reviews, as we used to do in high school, of some of my favorite books that I've read in the last few months. And I've got a really big stack here of books that I've read / acquired. So first one I want to talk about is I finally finished, after many years, the His Dark Materials series by Philip Pullman. I had read up to The Subtle Knife and parts of The Amber Spyglass I remember, but I never finished it. So I reread The Subtle Knife, and I'd forgotten most of it, and oh my gosh, that book is so good and so intense, and I just wanted to give Will and Lyra a hug and a juice box and loving and stable home. And anyway, spoiler warning for a book that came out in 2003, but Lee Scoresby's death just broke me. I love that character so much. And then The Amber Spyglass, that book is bonkers. I know I'm very late to the table, but wow, that book is just wild. So I read that. I listened to it on audio, which is cool because it's full cast and Philip Pullman reads them. But with The Amber Spyglass, I was getting so into it that I just had to read it on my Kindle because I wanted to get through it quickly. I read this much later, but follow-up, I also read The Secret Commonwealth. The reason I was trying to finish the trilogy was so I could read The Secret Commonwealth, which came out a few weeks ago, and I was honestly a little disappointed by it. It just felt like and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, like a travel story with the wacky wayside tribe trope, which is just, we're going here, and we're meeting a new person, and this weird thing happens, then we're moving on, and we never see them again. And then also, really big spoiler warning for that book, because it just came out, so spoilers for The Secret Commonwealth, but Malcolm, who I really loved in La Belle Sauvage, has a crush on Lyra, who's 10 years younger than him. And I mean, they're both of age, but still, that came out of absolutely nowhere, and I was just like, no, thank you. I was totally prepared for this to be a really sweet mentor-mentee relationship, and I was like, he's not gonna make it a romance. And then he did. I was like, oh, we needed another big age gap romance. Thanks, Philip Pullman. In The Secret Commonwealth, it tackled a lot of different things that I didn't expect it to, like Ayn Rand, the opioid crisis, wars in the Middle East, sexual assault. Yeah, big sexual assault content warning for that book. Refugee crisis. It was just a lot happening. That was a lot of noise from the kitchen. For someone who didn't have a lot of time to sit with Lyra's character, I felt like if I had had years and years to reread these books and think about Lyra as a character, I think I may have been disappointed with how she was treated. But since I finished The Amber Spyglass on Monday and then read The Secret Commonwealth on Wednesday, I should have had more breather space, but I didn't, and it was just kind of happening. But La Belle Sauvage still slaps. That book's great. Oh, next, I read the novel that I'm now predicting is going to win the Hugo for Best Novella. It is To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. I believe this was on my most anticipated books of the year list. This is one of the best novellas I've ever read. So, quick background, it's a sci-fi novella from the point of view of a woman who is an astronaut going on I think it's the first manned mission to leave the solar system, and they're going to these planets they don't know anything about. They've just had surveys and probes, and spoilers, but they find life on all of them, and it's all varied and incredible. There's 4 crew members, and they all love each other so much. There's this amazing and beautiful moment that happens. I'm getting choked up just talking about this book. It was absolutely phenomenal. Take Interstellar, distill it down to 140 pages and add even more depth and humanity, and that's basically To Be Taught If Fortunate. It was phenomenal, and I highly recommend it. I really do think it's going to win the Hugo. Next, this took me a while to finish, and I was a little disappointed by it, but this was Empress of Forever by Max Gladstone. It's been described as a lesbian Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's even more weird. You know, Guardians of the Galaxy has some really cool weird space stuff, but this book is really out there. I would even maybe classify it as new weird. The one thing that was great was the main character, Vivian Lau, who's a Chinese-American lesbian, tech genius billionaire. She's the main character, and throughout the book she is looking for ways to be grounded just as much as I was, because she's entirely out of her depth just as much as the reader is. And she is all this like, people move through the cloud and like these conceptual ships and everything, and she's like, but what do we eat? Like, I really appreciated that, but also it took a while to get through, and I felt like the ending was anticlimactic and the pacing was off. I really liked the main character, but it took me way longer to finish, so I was disappointed by it. I read a really cool nonfiction book about the linguistics of the internet called Because Internet by Gretchen McCulloch. This one's been getting a lot of press. I picked this up on my recent trip to Powell's in Portland. It was super neat. It really made me think about the ways that we use language on the internet and like the way that we use internet language in real life. Maybe a bit more dry than I'm used to, but like, it's a nonfiction book. But it was also really funny and witty, so I also recommend this if you are into the linguistics of the internet. I read The Bird King by G. Willow Wilson. That is about a young woman who is a concubine of the last sultan who occupied Spain. She and her best friend, who is being persecuted by the Spanish for being gay, flee the palace and go on the run. That book was really good. The prose was super lush, but there were some connections and like relationships between the characters that fell flat for me. It was kind of slow, but also like the pacing felt a little bit off. Anyway, I recommend it, but it did have its flaws. Next, I'm so excited to talk about this. I almost did a whole review, but it would be all gush. So, I first read Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend, and then the sequel, Wondersmith, The Calling of Morgan Crow, also by Jessica Townsend. These books have been described as the new Harry Potter, and yeah, I wish that I'd read them when I was a kid, but also like, I'm just glad I got to experience them. They're beautiful and whimsical and wonderful. So imagine Willy Wonka crossed with Albus Dumbledore, but he's not emotionally manipulative, adopts Wednesday Addams in a magical land and tells her that she has magical powers and that she's going to join this magical society. The mentor figure, who is the Willy Wonka and Albus Dumbledore, his name is Jupiter North. Oh my god, he's just the best like mentor figure. He loves her so much. He's like her adopted dad, and he has his flaws because he's not always home to look after her, but he owns a hotel, a magical hotel, and Morgan lives in that hotel and her room is changing all the time, and she has a best friend who's the dragon rider, and there's just so much whimsy happening. Like, there's a giant talking cat and they fly with umbrellas, and in this book she joins a magical school and her professor is a talking huge tortoise. I bought this copy just so I could loan it to people and also read it aloud to my roommates. It is absolutely astounding. One of my favorite books of all time now. I am keeping this library book because I finished it like 2 weeks ago, but I just keep rereading my favorite passages, and I'm gonna buy it when it comes out in paperback. They're in talks to make a movie out of it. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I really hope it does, because that would be hopefully wonderful. If you read anything this year, make it these books. I've been getting back on an Elizabeth Wayne kick, so I read her novella Firebird, which takes place in the Soviet Union in World War II. The main character is one of the Night Witches. I read this a while back. This is a nonfiction book about the Night Witches, also by Elizabeth Wayne. And then she also had a novella come out called White Eagles, which is about a Polish pilot in World War II. I read The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. It's a portal fantasy, but it's also like very small scale about one family. It was not what I expected at all. When you hear portal fantasy, you probably think of something different. It had vibes of Earthsea, but also talking about colonialism in America in the 1890s. Yeah, it was pretty good. I read The Water Dancer, which is Ta-Nehisi Coates' new book. Luckily, the library had copies of popular books that you can check out whenever. That was a chewy book. It took me a while to get through. That is also kind of a portal fantasy in a way. The first third, I was like, I'm not gonna finish this book. And then it picked up and I was like, this book's amazing! So yeah, the first third, if you can get through it, which I wouldn't blame if you couldn't, the next 2/3 are really, really good. I went to a bunch of used bookstores on my lunch break today, and I had a really magical experience. I've got Cobalt Squadron, also by Elizabeth Wayne. The only reason I'm reading this, I don't care about Star Wars, is because Elizabeth Wayne wrote it. And then I found The Dark Hills Divide by Patrick Kerman. I loved these books when I was a kid. I never finished the series, so there's one book in it I haven't read still, but this one's signed. Patrick Kerman signed it. When the clerk at the counter asked me if I found anything good when I was checking out, I said, "Oh yeah, I found this signed copy of the book I loved when I was a kid." And he kind of laughed and said, "We've been expecting you." I knew he was kidding, but like, I got warm, tingly feelings inside, because don't you always want a bookseller to say, "We've been expecting you"? That was really cool. Currently, I am reading Brazen, Rebel Ladies Who Rocked the World by Penelope Bagley. It is a series of comic biographies about, oh, that's my bookmark, famous ladies, and it's so good. The illustrations are amazing, and it's just really well told, and as you well know, I love books about famous women. I am reading a book of interviews by Ursula K. Le Guin, or people interviewing Ursula K. Le Guin, called The Last Interview. I have been attempting to finish for months a book of poetry by Mary Oliver called Devotions. It's all of her poetry, and I'm really just reading it because I liked Wild Geese. And her poetry is very good. She writes a lot about nature. There's like 400 pages of it, and I'm just taking my time. I'm listening to on audio Ghosts of Green Glass House by Kate Milford. I read the first book, Green Glass House, 2 years ago now, and it is about a Chinese American boy who lives in a hotel, and he gets snowed in the first book, and then in this book looks like the same thing is going to happen but with different people, and one of the characters is a ghost, and I think there's going to be more ghosts because the ghosts are plural in the title. Some exciting book news to report. I met Megan Whalen Turner and she signed my books. Look, see? For Julia. That's me! I was in the bookstore that she was speaking at. I was going up the stairs and she was coming down them, and I recognized her from Tumblr, and I just kind of smiled to myself, and then I was like, she's 15 minutes early, so I kind of said offhandedly to her, like, "Oh, you're early, aren't you?" And she thought I worked there. She was like, "Oh, can you help me set up my computer?" And I was like, "I don't work here, but I can help you find someone who does." So I pointed her to the help desk, and she's like, "Oh, thanks, see you in there." And I said, "Yeah, you too," because I was here to see her. So of course I was going to see her in there. See, that's probably not a big deal to anyone else, but I was really embarrassed. Oh, also very exciting, I am going to a Mackenzie Lee reading next week. I've been really lucky this month with author events, and she has a new book coming out called A History of the World in 50 Dogs, which is a companion to Bygone Badass Broads, which came out a few years back. I'm really excited about that. I'm going to wear the dress that I bought because I saw her wearing it, my famous lady's dress, and I'm going to let her know that I bought it because of her. She's a great advertiser for ModCloth. I wonder if she has a partnership with them, but that's what I've been reading the past few months. June to September, pretty much, I was in a sort of book slump, but I've got my mojo back and I've read a lot this month, and I think I shall hopefully continue to do that to the end of the year. I'm gonna blow my 150 book goal out of the water, but right now my main goal is to get the number of people of color authors bumped up, so I'm gonna try and read some more books by them. Alright, that is all I have. Thank you all so much for watching. Sorry it's been so long. Oh yeah, I skipped my last Stitch Fix unboxing because the day I got it I was really tired and I just wanted to unbox it and try them on, not in front of a camera, because it takes me a while to set this up and be kind of on in my, you know, screen presence. So sorry that I missed that one. Hopefully I'll be able to do the next one. And getting into the winter, my schedule's kind of quieted down, so I'll hopefully be able to make more of these. But if not, like, I don't want to stress myself out too much, and I'm just gonna keep it chill and have a good time, and I hope you all do too. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.